Hi everyone, this is Yana, and I am so very much excited about the newest Simon Says Stamp DieCember release. DieCember is the month dedicated to dies and all things die cutting, and I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of that on my blog and my YouTube channel this month. So the new DieCember release is up and live in the Simon Says Stamp store, and I thought I would share a project using one of the dies that I love the most. There are quite a few dies that I'm really excited to try, and I already have a bunch of ideas jotted down on a piece of paper, hoping to turn them into cards as soon as I can. Today I'd like to share a Valentine's Day card using Simon's new Heart of Roses die. I know Valentine's Day is still months away, but I think it's never too early to start making a couple of sweet hugs and kisses cards. I'm going to start by die cutting a rectangle using Simon's stitched rectangle die out of Arches cold press watercolor paper. We're going to be doing a little bit of very simple watercoloring today. If you're looking to buy some very good watercolor paper and don't know where to start, I would say get Arches. I only recently discovered this paper after a tip I saw online, and I am really happy with the quality. It's a little expensive, but it's not your student grade watercolor paper. It's a very high quality paper. And when it comes to watercolor, using the right paper makes all the difference in the world. So I've die cut a rectangle using my all-time favorite Simon's stitched rectangle die, and I'm going to tape it onto a board so that my paper doesn't warp as much when I'm watercoloring. You don't have to do this. I've only recently started doing this, and I'm noticing, a slight difference. There's definitely a little bit less warping when you tape your paper down onto a flat surface. I'm going to be using these water-soluble oil pastels by Prima. I'm really liking them because they are rich and creamy and go onto paper very nicely. I also really love the colors in here. I'm going to be using 3 colors today. So I have yellow, orange, red, and magenta. And the idea is to create a watercolor puddle behind a die cut heart. So I plan to die cut this Heart of Roses die out of white cardstock and layer over the watercolor background. I want my background to be in the shape of a heart or to resemble a heart. So I'm going to start by drawing a heart outline using 3 colors that I picked. I'm not tracing the die, although you can just go ahead and trace it using these watercolors. I'm just freehand drawing the heart. It doesn't have to be perfect, just a general heart shape. And once I have the outline done, I'm going to come in and fill in the heart with pigment. I'm adding more yellow than other colors because I know that the red and magenta will overpower the yellow, and I will end up having less when this background is finished. And you can already see this, where yellow mixes with red or magenta, it ends up being more orange than red. And while I do want to have a little bit of orange on my project, I still want to be able to have a little bit of yellow there as well. So after I applied my pigment, I'm going to come in with a brush, and this is round brush number 6. And I'm just going to lay some water and first let the water do the work for me. Because I'm using high quality watercolor paper, I don't really have to do any blending. The colors move on their own and blend nicely together, giving me new colors on my project. I'm cleaning my brush from time to time as I don't want to contaminate my yellow at the top there, at the top of my heart, and because I also want to have a rather soft edge to this heart. I don't want to have a hard defined outline. I want a nice soft edge here. I'm going to use my heat tool and dry my watercolor background. You can let it air dry, but I'm kind of being impatient here and using my heat tool. Once it's completely dry, I'm going to come in and add more color to my heart. I felt like I didn't have enough red, so I picked up some more pigment with my brush directly from the pencil and applied it onto my paper. I also created a similar background in terms of colors on another piece of watercolor paper. I needed a separate piece to die cut my sentiment from so that it would match my watercolor background. And this is, by the way, where I got my inspiration from. I really liked how the packaging of these water-soluble oil pastels showcase the colors here, and that inspired me to try to do something different, something similar for my project. So I once again heat set my both watercolor pieces and set them aside. Next, I used the new Heart of Roses die and the new Painted Hugs die and die cut both out of white cardstock. I also had to die cut the Hugs word 2 more times, once out of watercolor paper with that background that I created, and then once again out of fun foam. For the fun foam piece, I added 2 layers of adhesive from Scrapbook Adhesives. I used their adhesive sheets and added 1 layer to the front and then 1 more layer to the back of my fun foam so that I would be able to easily adhere it onto my card. The rest is rather simple. I adhered the white hugs onto the yellow fun foam die cut hugs and then used glue to adhere the watercolored hugs on top, but I offset it slightly. The reason I offset it is to make it more visible on my project. Had it not been offset, it would have looked lost on top of the die cut heart. Next, I stamped Sending You Lots Off onto a piece of white cardstock using VersaFine Onyx Black ink, adhered the Hugs die cut onto the heart, and adhered the sentiment strip on top of that. And I used a Scrapbook Adhesives red tape to adhere it. So once I had all of that in place, I knew where I could add foam adhesive squares so that they wouldn't be visible from the front of my card, from the front of the heart. I did cut a few of the foam squares into smaller strips and place them where I could fit them, on the other side of the heart to make sure it would be, they wouldn't be visible, and also to make sure I would be able to adhere the heart onto my project. I also decided I needed to stamp kisses and a few little hearts in black to complete my sentiment, so I once again used the same VersaFine Onyx Black ink. Now, since I was stamping onto watercolor paper, the impressions weren't perfect, but they were good enough for me. My watercolor paper still warped a little bit even though I had it taped, so I decided I would need to use a layer of fun foam to help it stay flat on my card base. This is something I often do not just to add dimension, but also to help keep my cardstock flat. Finally, I adhered a couple of clear sequins from Pretty Pink Posh and finished making this project. The supplies I used to create this card, along with links to the new DieCember products, are listed on my blog and in the video description. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this card. If you'd like to see more videos using products from Simon Says Stamp, be sure to check out the link you see on the screen. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe. I have new card making videos coming out every week. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!